What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Imperfect. This is episode 13. Holy shit, we are doing so good on this series. I am so excited to have a very old friend and a fucking amazing artist come on to the show today. Forrest Melton, how are you doing, brother?
Hi, I'm well, man. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. You look good.
Thank you. So do you, bro. You pulling up with the rings and all that shit, dude. I like it.
I like to be flashy, you know. I like to be hot.
I like to be hot.
I like to make it hot.
So me and Forrest worked with each other for a long time. We worked at Dick's Sporting Goods, and we've done artistic things and worked together once or twice, and just kind of been always working with each other and watching each other and shit. So we got a lot of subjects to talk about, and I'm really excited. But I want to jump into it.
Let's dive right in.
Let's dive right in.
Yeah, nose first.
So let's talk about Dick's Sporting Goods.
Let's talk about Dick's.
Let's talk about
Let's just talk about Dick's.
How was it working or being a manager at Dick's Sporting Goods?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, it was hard. No pun intended. No, it actually wasn't that hard. I learned a lot at that company. I actually like that company, and I don't like a lot of big major retailers like that. I tend to just try to avoid them, other than Amazon, because it makes my life easier. But yeah, Dick's was cool, man. I love the staff. That was the main thing.
Yeah,
I loved the Dick's staff.
Yeah, the Dick's staff. How long did you work there?
So I worked there for a total of 7 years.
7 years. So that means when I started, that was probably your third, fourth year when I started?
Probably, yeah, I think so. I think you were gone like the tail end. I think I might have worked there for like 6 months after you quit. Yeah. And that job, actually, I started out as a cashier at that job. And I had gotten in some trouble, and I had to get a job, and I hadn't had a job, like a solid job, for like 2 years. I went to school for a little bit, and then I just jumped back and forth. Couldn't really find anything I liked, and wasn't making the best choices. But then I got that job and kind of just kept it because I liked it.
Worked your way up, dude.
I worked my way up the Dick's ladder.
Yeah, the Dick's ladder. When I started, you were already a manager, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because I remember because that's what started the whole night crew thing, which was me, you, and a lot of our other good friends. It was just closing task crew, you know.
Yes, I had rank.
Yes. Yeah. But working at Dick's was super interesting. I got that job because I was dancing at the time, and I wanted to do something that was, sporty or just something that was more active, relating to dance. So I applied and then got the job, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah, you were probably the most active staff member. I think most of us just like smoked cigarettes outside the whole time.
Thanks, brother. That's why I got so mad. I mean, I worked there for 3 years, and then why I left was just because of pretty much that. I got yelled at because I didn't face all of like the items correctly or something. It was something ridiculous. And so I was like, and then I came into work the next day, and my boss yelled at the big boss, so the big boss is yelling at me, and I'm just like, went back to my thing, and I'm like, should I quit? Fuck it, I'm quitting. So I literally just like went out to the front door, and I'm just like, tell this person I fucking quit, threw my fucking badge and walked out like I'm all badass and shit.
Yeah, well, look at you now. You ought to go in there and get on the intercom and just say, how do you like me now?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh, God.
That's what I would do.
It was like I loved the job. It's just like I loved Dick's Sporting Goods
too. Yeah, the people were great.
And the people were great. It's just those one or two bad coworkers will literally just ruin your life.
And that's interesting because I can really get into that because that's something that's had a huge effect on me, not just at Dick's, but also at my most recent job, which was kind of like a local grocery store. It was a local business, but they have 2 locations.
Right.
And that was a great company to work for. I mean, the benefits were on par with the benefits that we got at Dick's. But the people there were just as great, too. So that's the 2 things that you should take away. The one thing that I really like to take away from jobs like that are the friends that I make.
Right.
It's like in 10 years when you look back on like just some 9-to-5 that you were working to get through school or whatever it was. And in my case, that was like my full-time job, because I was I had a position where I had some good rank at both those. But even still, when I look back on it, I take pride in the work I did. But ultimately, what matters to me is the friendships that I've made. And I'll have friends from both jobs that I will hope will keep forever. So
yeah, no, I totally agree. I think there was a lot of friendships made. I mean, our night crew, we at one point had the 8 like best, most fun, energetic crew at night.
Yeah,
like,
I think I saw a video of when we saran wrapped you to a weight
oh my,
bench.
dude, yeah, you shared it the other day. They saran wrapped me like literally 30 times around a box. I couldn't. You guys could have left me. I could not get out, bro. Like,
yes,
yeah, that was.
Yeah, I'm not gonna apply for any retail jobs after this. We get into some of those stories that we did. People are gonna be surprised that we worked there.
Yeah, I literally snapped. Remember, we were Snapchatting so much. Like the big boss was like, "Hey, I've been seeing your Snapchat."
Well, I Snapchatted like, the big boss.
Yeah, we did too. But they were like, "You got to stop," because it was like we were. Remember, I used to put tape on the double doors, so when Mikey or someone would come running through, they'd open the doors and get face full of tape, or we'd throw gags. Balls. Yeah, just literally whatever it was.
We would just gag each other.
Pretty much at dicks, yeah.
We would gag each other with dicks.
Oh God. But yeah, that's super cool. So yeah, you worked there for 6 months after I did, but then you moved to Boise.
Yeah, I tried to actually move to Boise a few times, and I was always held back by relationships mainly.
Oh yeah.
And so finally, I just was like, you know what, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go pursue something else. And then I jumped right back into a full-time retail job. So it was cool.
Hey, but still, at least it's, you're doing what you like to do.
Yeah, no, and I needed to do something to cushion myself financially, which I've done.
Right, exactly. And so, what do you think? Like comparing yourself, like living in Pocatello to Boise, because like I was telling you, I'm moving to Boise here soon.
Yeah, and that's so exciting.
Like, I'm excited, but
I think you did tell me that, but I forgot. So,
yeah. So like, what's the life though? Like, what's the life change? Is it more fun?
Up until last week, I've been employed full time. I mean, I moved to Boise, and then the next day, I literally jumped into a full time job. And so, I mean, even still, it's a lot different. I live in the center of downtown Boise, so there's always something to do. I can just walk out my front door and within 5 minutes have something fun to do, whether it's go see a movie, independent film at the Flicks, awesome. Or get some good food, or get super drunk at a bar and then puke all over myself.
Yeah, and walk right back home.
Just kidding on the ladder. I don't do that. But there's a lot to do, man. A lot of cool, creative people. That valley is growing immensely by the day. I think for the last couple of years, Boise has been the fastest growing city in the nation, or one of them.
Yep. That's what I was reading.
Yeah. So the valley is, and it's just like bursting with opportunity. So like young people are just they thrive there.
Exactly.
As long as you try,
Yeah, exactly. If you work your ass off,
Yeah, I don't know if I'll stay there. I want to be there for at least another year, I think. But I don't know if I'll make it like my place of residence.
Gotcha.
So,
where do you want to go?
I might check out Portland, or
Oregon.
Seattle. Yeah, I might hit the coast for a little bit. As long as I remain single and all that fun stuff.
Oh man, that's gonna be super cool.
A lot of different places I could travel to. So yeah, it's kind of on the agenda.
But what I love what you did there is like you're doing exactly kind of the same thing that me and my fiance were talking about. Is I was born and raised here my whole life.
Right.
I think I lived in Utah for like 6 months. My mom was back here, so I literally, and I was only 3 years old, so I literally never lived anywhere but Pocatello. And most of my friends, family, cousins, everybody is like, oh, I lived in Washington for a year and then here, and I'm like, I've always been here. But before just like getting all excited, I'm like, I'm going to move to LA and make it big. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what everybody says. And then, so my goal was like pretty much like what you just did is move to Boise and kind of get set up there, established, learn some new things, meet some new people, make some connections. Because my philosophy is like, if you can't make it in Boise, how can you make it in New York or LA or something like that when you're running a business or doing these kinds of things? And like, you should be able to at least like fine tune your connections and your experiences. So I was like, let's just move to Boise. Spend some time there. I don't know what timeline. We're just gonna move there. Spend 6 months, couple years. I don't know, and then talk about going to a bigger place or something like that. But
totally, yeah. The way I look at it is just like that. It's like a stepping stone. You know, it kind of like once you move out of Pocatello and go anywhere, so whether it's Boise, Salt Lake, or Portland, Seattle, LA, Austin, Texas, wherever. I think it's just Boise's a good stepping stone because it's easy to find a job, if you have experience or connections or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. The rent is skyrocketing there right now, but it's not like crazy. I mean, I've found it pretty easy to get by.
How much is your monthly rent?
My rent is actually, for where I live, it's pretty cheap, so I don't want to like rub everyone's nose in it, but I only pay about $500 a month just in rent.
Oh
yeah.
my!
That's split
God.
between my roommate and I, though.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Though.
So and where my location, it's pretty mind-boggling that the rent is that cheap, and I'm just waiting for it to go up. I'm sure it will at some point, but even if it does, I'm just happy to be there.
Yeah, exactly. Just gotta find a good deal. So.
Yeah, totally. So no, it's a great place to be, man, and there's just a lot of cool areas. There's areas. I mean, I haven't even really taken a vacation in the last year, and when I have, I've either had to come back to Pocatello, or I've gone to Arizona, or to see my grandparents or whatever it is. But I haven't like spent a lot of time off in Boise to really explore all of what it has to offer.
Yeah,
so, and I'm sure I probably won't.
Yeah, I mean it's so gigantic.
Yeah,
man.
and it's just growing by the day. But I've made a lot of cool friends. There's a lot going on down there, and just really cool, creative people, and the people are so friendly. That's the thing. I've never really had a problem with anyone.
That's what I hear from a lot of people from Boise. Is it's a lot of waving and just friendly matter.
Totally, a lot of Californians moving in, but even they're great for the most part.
Yeah.
We won't hate on them too much, but
yeah. But it is a fantastic city. That's why I was like, I just feel like it'd be a really good step. I mean, because like my whole family and friends and my life is here. Like after you live for someone or somewhere for so long, So I was like, let's take it slow and just. 4 hours away, not too far, kind of get established. I mean, I thank God I have a business where like my clientele is people. I mean, I have to work with people, so the more people in Boise, the more weddings, more people.
Yeah, just networking.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like it's gonna be a good stepping stone.
Yeah, it will.
Kind of transition.
Yeah, I'm happy for you, man. I think you'll really like it there.
Well, thank you. I'm excited. Yeah,
and a lot of opportunities with all the stuff that you're doing with film and the podcast and everything.
I know there's some people I want to talk to.
Yeah, same. Get them on.
Hell yeah. But yeah, so you mentioned you worked at what's the place? Or no, sorry. What's it? It's in Boise, right?
It's I actually just resigned last week, so I've been unemployed technically for a week now. Kind of cushioned myself financially, but I think that ultimately there were a lot of factors into why I made that decision, and we won't get into some of them. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that sometimes when you're working a 9 to 5 for so long, even if it's at different jobs and it's like the same environment, the retail environment, after so long, you just hit this point where you see a lot of potential in yourself in a company. And even if like your superiors or whoever it is sees a lot of potential in you and they want to build you up or build your career within that company, that's really great. And I take a lot of pride in that. It felt really good to have my superiors always supporting me and just like putting me in the positions that they did. I'd worked at the company for almost 2 years and I got rank real quick. I worked my way up the ladder pretty quick. And I was in a leadership role, and I did love it. But at the end of the day, it's not really what I want to do, And I'm almost 30. I'm almost over the hill. So
I feel like it's so much younger than that.
Yeah, and so you look at your situation, you look at other people that have worked in these environments for years, and you really ask yourself over and over again, or at least I found myself asking myself, like, is this what I want to do the rest of the life, or the rest of my life?
Right.
And ultimately, no, I don't. And so I think that it's important to redirect that potential, get yourself into a position where you can afford to quit your 9 to 5, or maybe get like part-time work or something. And pursue things that you think that you can be good at, and if, learning. There's a lot of value in the lessons that I've learned in managing over people. Yeah. I mean, I gained a lot of experience, especially at my previous company. I gained a lot of experience with just managing over people. In today's day and age, it's really kind of hard to do. The psychology in the workplace has changed, vastly in the last 10 years, I would say. Just from like my tenure at Dick's to now, and just seeing the psychology of these younger kids that are coming into the workforce. And I think there's a lot to do with that. It's social networking, technology, just the sociological landscape in general is going through a vast shift.
Right. So you say, because at Dick's, I feel like it was easier in a way, is what you're saying, right? Like it was
a lot easier.
A lot easier. Okay.
Yeah.
Just so it was like, I don't know if we were just whatever, but like what do you think, like you said, shifted, technology and stuff, but being a manager, your job or your previous job a week ago, but how was it managing like millennials or those younger people? Like, was it difficult? Like,
well, I didn't manage over just millennials. I managed over people of all ages. I would say, even at Dick's too.
That's true. That's true.
It wasn't just the younger ones are the difficult ones.
Right.
It's boomers. Say what you want about them, they typically have pretty good work ethics.
Right.
They just didn't instill that into their seed, which
right.
they should have. But yeah, I just think that because we would go to these training courses at both, both my last two recent employers, they would send me through all these training expos and classes and everything, and we would learn how to like manage over people and respectful workplace and things like that. But I just don't think they take into account that like people's attention spans are shot to shit because of technology, and it's hard to keep people focused. And it's hard to be the bad guy for me, I was always the friendly manager.
I was about to say, how was that? Like, how is it like, because naturally when you work in an environment, these people become your friends.
Yes.
And my fiance is going through the same thing where she has became a manager within the last like 3 or 4 months. And all of her friends that she was, working on the same level with, but when she gets manager, now she's consistently having this issue, like telling me like it sucks because these are my friends, but they don't fucking do anything.
Totally, and that's
so
how
it's hard because you're like, hey, like we're having a good conversation, but you got to get back to work. Like,
and that part of it is really tricky. I mean, it's really difficult. And if you, like I said, in retrospect, I'm so happy. I mean, some of my employees, the people that worked underneath me, are some of my best friends still, from Dick's and at my most recent employer.
Right.
And they'll always remain my friends. And it just kind of depends on the person. It's subjective through each individual, but it is difficult to manage over your friends. I mean, if you're just driven to do the best job that you can, you have to like put a line in the sand sometimes. That was very difficult for me to do just because I'm a social person anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I care more about people generally. Like I care more about like their well-being than I do about the company's well-being.
Right.
And I think that's just a humanistic thing. I think anyone would have a hard time, saying the opposite.
Yeah.
But for me, it was really difficult. And those were like the biggest challenges that I found in managing over people.
So you have to like kind of like individually, it's like, okay, like I'm really good with this friend, but I got to kind of just like swerve the conversation. Like, oh man, like, oh, by the way, just get that done. We get that done for me, man. Thank you. Like, trying to find that level ground.
Totally. And and then I would hang out with associates outside of work too, and that's where it gets really muddy.
Really?
Don't do that. Managers out there, don't hang out with your associates.
Yeah,
don't get drunk with your associates.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That'll cause issues.
Yeah. Sometimes we have to learn hard lessons, but yes, it will cause issues. But at the end of the day, I do enjoy managing over people, and I learned a lot. So I will take that that experience and I will apply it to, the next chapter.
Right, exactly.
So,
that's what I was going to ask. So, I mean, you worked at Dick's, did your time there, did awesome, learned a bunch of shit. Then you moved to Boise, you got this new job, doing great things, and then you quit. Do you have anything in mind of what you want to do next?
So right now I'm kind of cushioned financially for a little bit. So I will, I do want to take time off throughout the new year and stuff and kind of just get refocused, Mm-hmm. Kind of try to get my creativity back. I mean, I feel like, at least for me, and I can't speak for everyone, but I feel like working a 9 to 5 like that cripples your creativity in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you want to have creative endeavors, you really have to put your all into them. Mm-hmm. Like you can have hobbies where you draw or paint or something, and some people just pick up those things faster than others.
Right.
But some of us, it takes time, and we have to dedicate ourselves. Like we have to take that attention span that we, like just not the attention span, the energy throughout the day and apply it to like those creative outlets. And when you have a 9 to 5, that's pretty difficult to do.
Yeah.
It's like you work a 10-hour day and you have an hour commute, each day too. So there's 11, 12 hours of your day. And when you get home, the last thing you really want to do is like, like focus on other work. And I know some people are good at that. I'm not. I have to have like a balance of, I have to have like a big work home balance in order for me to kind of like dig into those creative outlets. And so that's kind of what I'm doing now. I hope to find part-time work here within the next month or so.
Right.
And then that way I can.
That way you take it a little bit slow rather than
take it a little bit slower.
Time.
Yeah, I don't want to go back into retail. I'm going to try to avoid that.
Right.
For the time being, and just explore different avenues. Like I said, I'm just trying to redirect my potential, if there is any there. I don't know. I hope so.
But, right. It definitely is.
We'll try to apply it towards something that I actually enjoy doing. And I've met a lot of people in Boise. I mean, creative people that want me to help them work on projects, whether it's animation projects or help them, like do flyers and stuff for music. And it was hard for me when I was working a 9 to 5. I mean, I just wouldn't be able to find the time. And then you know the game. It's like you have a project that you're doing for a client, and they're always gonna want changes made to that. So then you have to go back and dedicate more time. So if you only have like an allotted amount of time that you put towards a project. And then you get finished, but then they come back and they're like, oh, I need this and this and this done. And you have to allot another 4 hours of your week when you're working that many at 50 hours a week. It's hard to do that.
That's probably one of the hardest things. Even like when I shoot a wedding or something, I don't like the next day, like say most of the time, like it's a Sunday because I shoot weddings on Saturday. So I come back on Sunday. It's a completely full day that I could do that or whatever. But it's like, especially when I'm in school, I have homework and other things I have to like think about. But for the main part, it's like when you work so long, like it does take so much, like a little bit of time mentally and physically to like catch up. So almost always, like I'll get home Saturday night, just crash immediately, wake up first thing in the morning, and all I'll do is like transfer footage. I won't edit or anything because it's like, it's still like so much, like physically and mentally, like you work so much and you have to do your homework, you have to do all these things. And then by the time you're done transferring, doing your homework, XYZ, it's like 8 o'clock and you're just like, lost your energy. You know what I'm saying?
Totally,
and then that's just during that. But like during the week, like when I get a video out or whatever, maybe a week later, maybe they get it on Tuesday, I get a notification like, hey, can you fix this? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh man, I got to make these changes within the next couple of days. But it's Tuesday through Thursday. And those are like school, part-time job, homework, podcast, whatever I can do. And then it is. So I see what you're saying because it's very, very difficult to come home and be like I try to schedule my podcast on days that I don't have anything.
Right.
Because if I schedule it at like 9 o'clock, which I have after a long work day and long homework day, and then I get home and they come over at 9, I'm like, how you doing, man? And it's like my energy is just like,
it's
and
drained.
It shows. And I'm just like, man, I did not like how I was acting and preparing and like mentally being there. So like, I feel like that break is absolutely huge because people I hate the idea like there is a grind, but I hate when it's like grind 24/7. Like that is fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
like
totally.
you need a
downtime.
break.
Yeah,
you need downtime. Like
you'll burn out.
You will burn out so fucking quickly.
Yeah, totally.
It's insane. So I mean, just for anybody, like if anybody has a hobby or has a full-time job, they will know because it's just not that thing where you can just come home and get right to your craft at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. It's just, totally. It's too fucking hard.
And, even if you develop habits to get you into that, I mean, because I think that there are things that you can do to help you regain focus at night. But then you also are taking time to do those things.
Yep.
So you're like taking time to meditate or do yoga or exercise and things. And then that's taking up more of your time. So then you have less time to work on whatever it is.
Yeah. And then sometimes people have kids. Sometimes they have spouses. Totally. Then they have family, friends.
Yeah. And it's actually quite amazing how much people can get done when they actually focus on it, you know? Because it's easy to procrastinate, and I think it's easy to fall into procrastination loops. You know what I mean? Like
and it is. You're right. That's a very good, valuable point because it's like if I'm working a 9 to 5, I'm like I'm just gonna have to wait until Thanksgiving break in 6 months to start that podcast I've been wanting to do.
Totally.
But it's like no, you should get started now.
Yep.
But it is kind of like you just have to. I think it's just a balance. Especially at first when you're starting something, kind of go into it a little bit, keep working, whatever. Try to do it on the weekends when you're not like right at midnight or something and super tired or whatever.
Yeah.
Try to balance it out. And then throughout time, like what you did is you're like, I'm finally like creatively ready. I've met my contacts. There's a lot of projects I want to get on. I'm finally going to take this break and kind of get on to this stuff,
Totally, yeah. And I've actually, I stepped back from social media.
I've noticed that,
and I want to, I've kind of, I don't really have anything going on social media right now. And and that's just because that's a big distractor.
It is
huge. And I'm super guilty of falling into that too, and just like doing the social networking thing. And it's like, sometimes it's ridiculous how much time we spend on that shit,
so much.
So taking a step back from distractions or anything that's video games, whatever it is, YouTube. I mean, there's so many things that when you're working and like, I kind of have a little office space set up. There's just so many distractions even still, just because of like, the internet.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like
the internet, man.
Yeah, literally though. It is though. It's like when I sit down to edit, cause I mean, I got 3 cameras and audio to go through, and editing takes 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah, totally.
But I always find myself when I'm like 3-4 hours into it, I'm like, I'm just gonna watch like a little YouTube video, like get a break, and then you expect, oh my god, it's been 2 hours.
Exactly. Yeah. 5 hours later, and it's like you found yourself in like some wormhole about Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, I know. You started some YouTube video, and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like,
yeah, totally. I find myself doing that a lot too. So I'm trying to develop habits to curb those.
And it's hard to face these because these algorithms are literally built
to do that. Yeah, they're
keep
built
you
to distract
on.
you.
Like that's why like you sign in because they like gonna study everything you watch and find the most likely recommended and put that right on the right side. You're like,
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that looks interesting, and then you're like, oh fuck, that looks interesting, and then you just fucking keep going.
They got us. They got us by the balls.
They got us by the balls watching their shit.
Yeah. So but at the end of the day, you know, if you really want to do something, you should just do it. And if you feel like the path that you're going on with whether it's like your job or school and it's not working out for you and you just don't see that being your future, if you don't stop doing that and start pursuing something else, then you never will.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And if you do it and fail, then at least you tried.
Yes.
And
exactly.
and at the end of the day, it's like it's kind of the journey that's the most important thing. You know, I feel like all too often people just try to look at the end goal.
The end result, dude.
Yeah, but they don't take time to appreciate like how you got there, you know.
Yeah.
And there's even just working retail, and this might sound corny, but I've gained so many a lot of inspiration just from the people that I've come in contact with. And I think a good example, and anyone who's like followed my Instagram or Snapchat for the last 10 years will know that Kirby is just like, he's just this character who I started Snapchatting him every day, just doing weird shit like chugging mustard or yelling or talking cat voices.
Yeah.
But people like loved that. I remember I posted on Reddit, like, hey, check this guy. Like, this is my Snapchat. If you want to see this guy and what he has to say every day, follow me. And it, like, 1,000 followers. Like, I don't have those followers anymore because I don't work with him anymore, so I don't see him. But it's just, like, I don't know. People like him and Sam and just a lot of the other people that I've met throughout my tenure, it's, like, that's what I will take the most value out of those jobs, you know?
Yeah,
it's the people that inspire you.
Yeah, it's insane because it's like working with you. I was like, I didn't know you were an artist. I was just like, oh, this manager guy,
this weird kid with a weird haircut.
Weird kid. Every time you talked to me, you always said something hella fucking witty, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, this
kid doesn't know anything about sports. This emo looking kid.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, and then like I went to your house that one day, and you were showing me the fucking animations. Like, holy shit, bro! I was like, these are fucking amazing.
Yeah, see, and like I can't tell you how big my how much space is on my hard drive with just unfinished projects.
Oh man.
And
I believe it.
I feel bad saying that because it's like there was so many potential in a lot of those projects, but then it goes back to like just working so much, you know, especially in Boise where I didn't have as much time because I commuted an hour every day and things like that. It's just my hard drive is just filled with unfinished projects. And so with the animation thing, that's something I've really been tapped into lately. But I had to take a step back because I spent a lot of time just learning the software, and I learned it on myself.
I was about to say, that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, I never went other than like high school, I never went to school for that field.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I've just like self-taught myself how to use the software. That was kind of the first step. And then recently I actually just started writing. And and I found that that's what I like to do the most.
Writing like short films, stories, books?
Stories, yeah. I mean, right now there's 2 cartoons that I'm currently working on, and one of them should be done, I'm hoping, by the end of the month. And I mean, if I'm still unemployed by the end of the month, hopefully it'll be sooner than that. But that's kind of my main focus. And I had to take a step back because I would make these characters or these settings and stuff, and then I would have all the elements for the animation, but I didn't have any story. Yeah. I'm like, why am I doing this first? This is so dumb. You know, work on the story. It's like little things like that you learn in school that I just wasn't applying to that because I was more intrigued by learning the software, and I had a lot of fun like learning that. But then I took a step back and I was like, I need a storyboard and I need to write and I need to get other people involved, you know? And there's like people that are jumping at the opportunity to do voice acting for my stupid cartoons.
No, dude, that's awesome. I'm excited. You're probably gonna post to your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll do Vimeo. Maybe I'll make a Vimeo.
There you go. Whatever you do, I'll link it down below whenever he gets it out.
Yeah.
We'll be watching. But
I'm gonna upload it to my LinkedIn account.
LinkedIn.
Yeah. But I'm gonna make some stuff for Pornhub.
Oh my God, Jesus. 18 plus, please.
Oh yeah. Sorry, you can cut that.
No, that's good. No, but I think that's super awesome, and I think you hit it on the point too. Is even like I'm in school and I had the conversation with Travis when we talked about was college worth it and stuff like that, and still kind of weighing it out or whatever. But I think a lot of like 90% of my work ethic and where I'm at is because of YouTube tutorials and watching others and behind the scenes. And that's how I learned all my filming. I mean, we're using film gear from 2003, 4, you know, and it's like it's insane. We're not even working with DSLRs. We're using handy dandy dad cameras, you know, like,
yeah.
So it's like, it's
that's awesome though. That's awesome.
Yeah. But it's like, I totally understand. It's like, you got to spend so much time, and you forever will take that as account. You'll forever learn the tech side, but it does take that first amount of time. Okay. Like, what does 24 frames per second mean? And then what does this mean? What's the frame rate? What's the ISO? What's all those things mean? And same thing when you're animating, like, okay, what does the pen tool mean? What does this mean? And you have to like,
and
understand
timing
the tech
is a really hard concept to grasp.
Yes. 100%. So it's like getting the tech side and then going into the artistic. So when you say it's like, it took me time just to understand, like, I totally agree. Like, I totally understand. Like, even when I want to go into After Effects to just do something like simple, like do a pen tool of like a moving tree or something.
Right.
And it's like, oh my God.
It's like a 4-hour tutorial just to like make a circle pop
like,
up.
Literally 4 hours. They're like, okay, I got a branch.
Like, and you know, over time you kind of just learn, like, the software almost becomes second nature over so long. You know, like
I would agree. Same with Premiere.
When I first moved to Boise, I actually because I wasn't getting paid nearly as much as I was up until recently. And so I was almost living paycheck to paycheck. So I had to cancel my Adobe Cloud. I had to cancel a lot of stuff like that. So I spent a lot of time not doing that kind of stuff. But I did spend a lot of time, you know, meeting new people and hanging out and stuff, which I think is important because you need that social relationships. But now that I'm taking a step back and getting back into the flow of things,
kind of jump back into
you have to be consistent. You have to work every single day, and that's what I wasn't doing. You know, I was taking way too much time apart from my hobbies. And
I think it's like that balance. Like, it's like, if you work a 9 to 5, it's like, just take it. So like with the podcast, I was like, I really want to do this podcast so fucking bad, but it was like almost finals week and all these things, school and work. I was just like, it's so much time. I'm like, I'm not going to do it wrong. Like what we were talking about. I'm not going to burn myself out. I'm not going to go fucking ham and hit up everybody I possibly can and come over and blah, blah, blah. So I spent months just like getting the equipment right, testing with my fiance, doing the audio, getting the cameras and seeing what didn't work, and then kind of going from there. Just a little bit of downtime. And then I was like, this is what I'm going to do. Because it was like a month before finals. I was like, I'm going to start the podcast. I'm just going to do one guest a week. That way it's just one guest on Saturday, just an hour of their time, come over, shoot the podcast, and then have the whole week to edit it and then post it and then repeat.
Totally.
And I did that. And then finally when, you know, Christmas break comes, I'm like, school and work, I'm out because campuses are all closed. I'm like, I'm going to go ham. I'm going to do 3 episodes a week while I can and go hard.
Yeah.
And then fall back into like a 1 episode. But it's just like that balance out, because if you do, I'm just like, I'm going to start a podcast and just go hard as I can. And then if I'm trying to do shoot 3, like, especially now knowing the editing and the workload and all that shit, I would have burned myself out hella quick. Because I am now. Like, it's like literally shoot Monday, edit all day Tuesday. I mean, it's like the things you don't even think about, thumbnails and marketing and sharing it to all your social media, like all those things. Those fucking things take time. And so it's like, shoot all Monday, edit all Tuesday, post Wednesday, and then shoot Wednesday night, and then repeat. You know?
Well, at least you got a system, man. That's impressive.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Sexy dog.
Thank you so much, man. But it is a balance, because you're right. It's if you're working a 9 to 5, or you're working even more than that. Some people do 12-hour shifts and shit like that.
Or 2 jobs. A lot of people work 2 jobs.
Yeah, and so it's like, just jump into it like a little bit. Spend 30 minutes to an hour a day, because that's the thing. That's the thing, is nobody will ever do it. But like, they're like, oh, I just want to spend the whole day doing it. It's like, no, like, take it slow. Like, an hour a day will go really long. Like, if I watched an hour tutorial or a couple tutorials a night about filmmaking, within a month, I'd be like fucking way much better than I would a month ago. And I was just an hour a night. Right. You know what I'm saying? But some people are like, oh, I got to wait 6 months until I get that 1 week vacation to start, or that stupid, oh, in 2020 I'm gonna start all these new things, and it's just like, dude, do it fucking now.
Yeah. And that's such a good point too, because when you have that mindset that you're like, oh, I'll dedicate 6 hours on my weekend to this project, well, then you're rushing yourself.
Exactly.
You know, if you take baby steps, then you're able to, and then if you come back to a project like every day, if you're just working on it in little bits and pieces, then you're able to like catch your more errors.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True.
So you catch a lot more errors.
True.
You're able to like fine tune things a lot better, and I just think that it is important to chip away in baby steps.
Exactly. And then when you get a day off, for, it's a holiday and you have nothing going on, then fuck, get back onto it.
But yeah, by all means.
Yeah, I love that. I think I'm excited, but I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what you got going on, and it's exciting that you took the big step. Like, you took the step of like, this is what I want to do.
That was the big step. You know, like, granted, there were other factors that I can't get into, in which that was my decision to resign from my current position. And I love that company. I love the people that work there. Every single one of them. It was so great the whole time. I met a lot of cool people.
That's awesome.
So that was a little heartbreaking. I got a little emo. With the whole situation. But no, at the end of the day, like, I feel really optimistic about the new year. And I don't know, change is good. You have to embrace it, good. Like, as anxious as I get embracing change, it's like, it's always works out for the better.
Right.
And I almost kind of like that feeling, like that feeling of not knowing, and just kind of living in the moment and just focusing in on what you have to do to succeed with whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. And no matter the reason of why you left the job, like you said, you have these other reasons, and then, you're thinking about projects and stuff like that. Whatever the reason is, you can use that to your advantage and be like, now I have all this free time, and there's these people that I really want to work with, and there's these things I want to pursue. I'm going to do it because now you can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a lot easier. And then, like, I'll get back into the workworkforce. I'm going to have to, you know,
definitely.
Like, and then I have considered going back to school, whether it's just like a trade school or something part-time. But yeah, for now, I really just want to focus in and do some storytelling. My ultimate goal, I think one thing that I feel like I'm good at, and I'm not trying to be too pretentious here, is I feel like I have a knack to make people laugh. And I love that. I just love putting smiles on people's faces. So if I could do that for a living, then that's what I'm going to go for. And if I don't, then I'm just going to, I'm going to try.
Dude, literally, like, my first week there, you were like, dude, check this out. And you showed me that and I was like, this is going to be a fun guy to work with. Because you showed me that video of you recording Devin the Pink Panther, because
no, he was recording me.
Or he was, you were in the pink shirt.
He was pulling a gag on me.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. But like, the whole thing, I should have wrote him up for that. Yeah. But that was funny, and I was like, holy shit, this guy has a sense of humor, though. Like, he can be laughed at, laugh at other people, like, make these jokes.
I never take myself seriously. I mean, it's really hard to offend me. I'm sarcastic a lot of the time, so if I sound offended, it's not sarcasm. It's just the sarcasm, so no, I think it's important not to take yourself too seriously. You know, just be humble, and like, if I'm gonna give you some shit over something, and it's just in like fun, like it's not like anything that like, or just anyone, I go, that was a cool noise. I like that. It's important, especially in a managerial role, to not take yourself too seriously. You can't take offense to things.
And I think that's why most people liked you, is because the reason I left was because of another manager I did not get along with.
Right.
But it's like you, that I just knew whatever, like, serious or non-serious, or like, and that's the thing. It's like on an employee's part. I mean, we're talking about manager, but on an employee, I was like, I'm gonna get my job done. That way, I know me and you can have a good relationship, because it's always. Because you were my manager, at one point. So I was like, if I just do my job, then like, we don't have to have that awkward, like, I'm in the back texting for 6 hours and you're just like, bro, you didn't get any work done.
I'd come back there and powder your ass.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I'm gonna keep
Get busy, Horn.
Yeah, for real.
And that's how I was at my last employer too. There are a lot of kids. Some of them reminded me of you guys, you and some of the other employees that worked at Dick's. And we always had a good time together, but we got shit done. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure we get shit done. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to take it as seriously as I'm going to like literally ream you for anything,
Yeah.
So
big facts.
I think that's important. And also, I think that like, because most companies there's more than just one manager. I feel like I might not be the best being like a store manager or being at the top of it because of that. That's just my personality.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna come down. I'm not gonna like bring the hammer down on. I might get the baby powder and
fucking get your shit done.
Yeah. But like, I can't come down on people too hard, because at the end of the day, I mean, especially the kind of jobs where I've managed over are just people that are only there temporarily or part time, or they're going to school or something. So I know that these people, this isn't like, they're not going to take it as seriously as somebody who that is like their full-time 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And that's something that you have to take into consideration too. These people are just here temporarily. If they're not going to
work their ass off.
Yeah, they're not all going to be like the outstanding employee. Now, yes, you want to try to inspire people to do the best that they can, at their jobs. But I just think that a lot of the ways that those expectations are laid down now are somewhat archaic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, at the end of the day, you can't force somebody to do the best job.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to inspire them to do a good job.
Yeah, 100%.
So, and I think that just the main thing that anyone who's struggling to do a good job, if you don't like your job, you might like your boss, you just don't like the work you're doing. My advice would just to be do the best job at that, because you can apply that to everything else. Mm-hmm. Just do the best job at everything that you do. You know what I mean? Because if you're not doing a good job at work, then it's easier to come home. If you're working on like a painting or drawing or animation or video or something, then you're still gonna have like that. Whatever, if you're feeling lethargic or whatever, you kind of just have to battle that and just always try to do the best job.
Yeah, I agree. 1,000%.
Because if you do, then you will be successful. As long as you do your best, you will be successful.
Yeah, that's facts. Yeah. Like, you should be like working hard at work, working hard at home, working hard at school. Just try to be the best you, because you're right. I feel like it will bleed over if you're just...
It will bleed over, yes.
If you're at work in the bathroom 24/7 texting or backstock texting, whatever, and then you come home, and then you come home and you continue, and it's just...
I mean, we really had to... At Dick's, I know they didn't combat the phones as much as my previous employer, but we try to do our best to combat the phone thing, but... Even then, you can't stop somebody from going to take a 20-minute break in Dunker's Cove.
Dunker's Cove, yeah.
Updating their Twitter feed.
Sitting on the fucking toilet.
Yep. Kerplunk.
Yeah, kerplunk. Yeah, dude. Well, that's cool. I mean, it is exciting. It is really exciting to see. Just take that leap. I'm excited to see what you got going on.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm excited to show it to you.
Yeah, truly. But
it's gonna be kind of gritty and dark and weird.
That's the shit I love. But that's you, bro. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck it. Do it.
Yeah, I write some pretty fucked up shit. I'm scared to show my grandma.
Oh God. God, dude, that's a struggle, dude. That's a struggle.
Yeah.
But yeah. So moving on. Because I know when we were in the workplace, we talked like fucking all the time about everything and anything.
Totally. Yeah, we had some great combos.
We had some very, very great fucking conversations. Totally. I'm still sitting with, it's just like, man, this is good shit. And, when you talk to people, you learn a lot, and it's fucking good to keep in your head. But one thing I want to kind of branch off to is we were talking about, spirituality, and
very important,
religion, and all these things and stuff at the time. And I wanted to kind of see, let you lead it off where you're at with it, what you're thinking about it.
Just like what I think about spirituality in general.
Yeah, well, because I remember at the time, when we were sitting there talking to Dick's Sporting Goods all the time, you mentioned at the time that you were atheist,
right?
And even I, to this day, I still can't. Even when we talked back then to now, I was baptized LDS and then stopped going. I was 10, 11 or something like that, and then even to this day, I believe in God, but I still don't. I'm still kind of building my own educational thing, and
I mean,
this is probably any religious person will think this is stupid as fuck, but right now it's kind of like I'm trying to focus on my future, my life, trying to better myself and do things like this to better, hopefully inspire other people. But
which I think you do a great job at that.
Well, thank you so much. But it's like at some point in the time, I do want to read the Bible. I do want to do these things so I can be educated, and then finally be like, I'm Christian. But like right now, this is fucked up, and a lot of people won't agree with this. But I have it on the back burner because I just want to focus on these things I have a passion for, and all that stuff. But that's what I just want to mention. But at the time, you did mention that, and so I wanted to see, that's where you were. How are you feeling now? I still...
Okay, so as far as like what my religious views are, I would say that I don't consider myself an atheist anymore. I consider myself an atheist to certain religions. I mean, being an atheist doesn't mean that you necessarily... I mean, it's kind of... That term has been taken over. So when people think atheist, one, they think asshole.
Right, yeah.
And two, they think, these spokespeople for atheism over the last decade, these scientists and... astrophysicists and evolutionary biologists. I feel like they came on too aggressively, and they attacked religious belief as far as what the Bible tells us is historically accurate about the world, or the Quran, or whatever it is.
Right.
And so I am on the side with science as far as like what is the physical evidence of a lot of these occurrences that are, or these things that are listed in the Bible. I think the book of Genesis is the best example. I mean, if you were to read the Bible and take it for literal facts, then it's telling you that the earth is only 10,000 years old. That humans have only walked the earth for however
X
long.
amount of time,
but through science, we can tell that the earth is more around like 5 billion years
yeah,
old.
Exactly.
Or something like that. So, but I mean, that's a whole another subject, and I could go off on that forever.
Right,
but
right.
as far as like spirituality, God,
I know,
can I
I've
talk
said
today,
the
man?
same
This
thing.
Red Bull's giving me a buzz. Holy cow, I'm tongue twisted.
You're good.
Anyway, spirituality and religion are kind of two different things, but they fall along the same line as far as what they do for people internally. Now, I don't have any problem with religious people in any way, shape, or form. I think that spirituality, whether it's through your religion or other means, is extremely important just for the human spirit. I mean,
right.
And I think that whether you are a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, or whatever else, Jewish, Catholic, they all have a commonality. And that commonality is the spiritual aspect to it.
Right.
I mean, religion does great things for people. I grew up in a very religious family. I mean, my immediate family, not so much, but most of my family are very religious people, and and a lot of my friends too.
Right.
And I see what that does for them.
Right.
And it can do really great things for people.
Fantastic,
and I think that we shouldn't that should be encouraged.
Yeah.
My issue is like, why do you have to have and especially in America where you kind of have freedom of religion mixed with free enterprise, so it allows these whatever kind of religion to just sprout up, and some of them gain more popularity and a lot of momentum over time. I just think that like their belief systems change over time. Right. So it's hard for me to like go and sit down at a church and have somebody tell me like, this is how it is. What I do, my own personal thing is I take a lot of my spirituality from like Buddhist practice. So I try to meditate every single day. I think that
Buddhists believe in a god, or are they?
I actually don't know a lot about like the history of Buddhism or the actual practices. I go to a Dharma center sometimes, and we learn more. It's more about like learning about yourself.
Okay.
We meditate. It's kind of more about like overcoming obstacles in your life through like meditation and thinking about like like your psychology, kind of what your flaws and insecurities are, and bringing those to light and being okay with it.
Right.
Essentially is kind of what it boils down to in a way. But I think I went to a secular meditation group here in Pocatello. It was my favorite meditation group ever. Shouts out to the Blue House meditation group. Check them out if you're in Pocatello. I would encourage you to. It's secular, so there's no religious connotation involved whatsoever.
It's just meditation.
You just learn about meditation. You learn about the human brain. You learn about what creates anxiety and depression and things like that. And understanding those things at their core from like an evolutionary standpoint is extremely important to be able to combat them.
Hell yeah.
I've had a lot of conversations with people that open up to me about their anxiety or their depression.
Right.
And this is what I tell them. I think this is a very important thing for anyone to understand is everybody is anxious. Not everybody. The difference is not everybody has necessarily an anxiety disorder.
Right.
And that's kind of the problem with it is we associate anxiety with having a disorder, and that's not necessarily true.
Right.
Just because you're anxious about something and it could be long lasting doesn't mean that you have like a psychological disease where you need to go get medicated for it. There are outlets that you can take to combat that. But understanding it at its core is very important, because then I think it's easier to kind of understanding it itself is easier to like help kind of come out of it. You know what I mean? So we have anxiety because over our evolutionary history. Right. Throughout most of human history, we were not civilized. We were tribal. We were animals. We were literally living to survive. Yeah. And so, could you imagine waking up every day like under a rock and thinking about how you were going to get a meal that day?
Yeah.
Or how you were going to get water that day? Yeah. You were anxious. It was like a survival trait that was kind of ingrained into us. Or you could be in the wild and there could be a threat. And that threat is like your spider sense or something kicks in and you get anxious because you don't know. Anxiety is kind of the fear of nothing. It's kind of just like the survival trait that kicks in for no reason and you don't understand it. And I think what happens is people try to apply what they see the outcome of a situation being, and it makes them anxious, but like most of the time what we envision an outcome to be in a certain situation isn't necessarily what that outcome is. Right. It usually is better than what we had anticipated because we're always so quick. It's just that guard that we put up, that survival instinct, it's like that fight or flight mode.
Yes, exactly.
And so I think that understanding why we feel that way sometimes, and it could be more severe in other people. And I'm not saying that like don't go get medicated. If you go to a doctor and they tell you like try this medication out or whatever, then, and if you think it's the right thing for you to do, then by all means do it. I'm not trying to like, tell people don't listen to your doctor or whatever. This is just what works for me. Right. And it kind of falls into that spirituality thing, and I think that's why it's important because I think that at the end of the day, it's almost arrogant to say that humans are like the most conscious things in the universe. You know, I think that the commonality between all religions and my God view is that God is something that we can't necessarily comprehend.
Yes.
On our level.
1,000%.
It's bigger than, and the way that I see the world, and just from what I've learned through reading books about evolutionary biology and things like that, is things work from the ground up in nature, right? Not from the top down. And that's why I've kind of separated myself from religion, because religion is like this top-down perspective of things. Like there's just one God controlling everything at all times. It doesn't make sense to me in a lot of ways of like how could that be when there's so much of this and that, and I don't want to like we would talk for 10 hours if we were to get into like the specifics of that, but I think that God is consciousness. At the end of the day, it's something that exists in every living thing, because at the end of the day, nobody really knows. I mean, I could be completely wrong. That's just kind of just through what I've learned about the world and what I've read. That's just kind of what I've kind of learned to accept. So I wouldn't call myself an atheist. I think that God is just something that we don't. I think God is love. I think He's consciousness.
Yeah. No, I a lot of that to unpack, but I definitely love a lot of what you're saying. Starting with atheism and religion and spirituality. I think spirituality is something that really needs to be focused on a lot more and separated from religion. I think a lot of people could agree with that. Even a lot of my LDS 2 Christian friends, I think they could definitely agree.
Yeah, me too. And I have a lot of LDS and Christian and Catholic.
And one of the biggest things too that I totally agree with is I finally took biology, and I finally got to take and understand a lot of like all that, and a lot of the things that you read online. It's like they always show that stupid image of like, like I can't remember, a gorilla to like a human. Right. And my like the first day in biology, like this is wrong. Yeah. Like this is totally wrong. This is not. And then
it is wrong.
And so after like understanding my biology teacher, which is super awesome, understanding science, and then doing research and reading literally like articles that are put up by thousands of, because you always hear like read about it, go read online and like study about it, do your research. And it's always like, but when you actually sit down at a computer, find actually credible, realistic sites, by Harvard and things like that, and you read these articles, you're like, these are the fucking top of the scientists, and and so it's like I gotta take this biology class and learn so much where like evolution makes a lot more fucking sense. It's not that stupid image. It could be, I'm taking something super complex, narrowing it down, but it's like taking a one generation of humans and throughout time, or animals or whatever it may be, and you adapt to better survive. I mean, that's so much simpler than showing some stupid thing, because we watched this documentary about finches where, and this is pretty like fact, they took some or not finches, sorry, lizards, I can't remember the exact name, but there's these lizards they put on an island, and they measured them all, they like took all the statistical data, let them go out there, and then within 3 or 4 generations they had kids and their kids' kids, and they put them on an island where like they were meant to get like food out of like trees or something, but they put them on an island where there's no trees, no bushes. It was just like rocks. So they had to adapt their legs and their everything to get food and to survive. Basically, is what I'm trying. Long story short, is it showed that they got better adapted. They got smaller, arms. They got better mouths, and everything adapted just in a couple generations, so they could better survive on that island. Totally. And I was like, holy fuck. Like, you literally, literally show you, I think
that, because I've had this conversation with so many religious people, and it's interesting, the older generation, they're a lot less likely to open up to that, just because they're already set in their worldview. Yeah. And a lot of even religious people will tell you that like evolutionary biology, or they call it the theory of evolution, and the ones that are stuck in their ways of like, oh, humans and apes,
exactly.
They didn't evolve from each other, and that's not the case. It's we had a common ancestor.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah. But the thing is it's tangible. So a lot of them will believe that adaptation is real. That certain animals will gain certain traits over amount of time. But it's intangible for a lot of them to believe that species can evolve over time. Okay. Well, when you're talking about 5 billion years, I mean, and then I think that enough evidence for me is just studying the bone structures of species and subspecies. And you can just see how over time, like location-wise, these animals changed over a period
throughout
of
environments.
Years. Yeah, it is interesting. There is what a lot of people would say the missing link between animals and humans. Like humans, what's interesting about humans is we can recognize our own consciousness. Yeah. And I don't think any other animals, maybe besides dolphins, and don't quote me on that, can do that.
Right.
Recognize their own sentience. You know what I mean? And that is something that is really spiritual.
Yeah,
and like
very much.
And us as humans kind of tap into that. You know, we're not just living to survive.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's a whole wormhole, man.
It is. And so my point being is like I've, even though I fell away from LDS practice, I've always believed in God, always prayed, always been thankful,
Well, I think that's important because you're also self-reflecting when you pray.
Exactly.
And that's a big part of meditation too. And so they kind of fall hand in hand.
Yeah. So it's like, regardless, like I'm going to, like talking to you and doing my research and kind of learning as time goes on and educating myself. But on the side things as I'm taking these classes and it's like still it blew my mind that this one statement can be made is I can believe in science and believe in God at the same time. And that was like holy shit, because like that was so mind opening that there's so much more to learn.
Yeah.
Rather than like, oh, you're here because you serve God. Oh, but you're here because you survived through evolution. Like there's so many things that like you can actually believe that it's not just like this one thing. And that leads all the way up to like just everything in life, literally everything that's God related or life related or evolution. It's all encompassing. Science. It's everything. It's never like this thing is the right way and this is what's true and this is not. So my job now and what I'm trying to do is make sense of what falls into what. Okay, if I do believe now that the earth is this old because of the evidence and the things we study and the fossils and blah, 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 how does God play into that? Well, if I read the Bible, I could probably defend that, or if I talk to more religious people, etc.,
Yeah, and I think another thing, an important point on that note is like not all Christians who study the Bible, they don't necessarily deny evolution. It's interesting because that is kind of it's almost kind of a modern belief.
Yeah.
That the Earth is like these young Earth creationists is what they're called, and a lot of them now have like developed or like evolved into like these flat earther theories and all this crazy shit. That literally doesn't make any sense at all, but they just get so, I don't understand how somebody could rationalize just having faith in something that you truly believe in and then taking the Bible as a work of literature.
Yeah.
Or like, as like a work of history.
There you go.
Yeah. Because the Bible has changed so much over time, and there's so many different religions who interpret it so many different ways.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's my biggest thing is like there's so many different interpretations of the Bible. So I think there's a lot of important things in the Bible. I think that the teachings of Jesus Christ, for the most part, are very important to the human spirit.
Yeah.
Like whatever Jesus Christ was, and I think that like those stories are based off of real events. I don't necessarily know if it's like verbatim. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people do believe it verbatim. I think there's a lot of good to be like had out of those stories. Now, there's a lot of other things in the Bible that are terrible or not historically accurate, and it's like there could be like messages in those, and I think that it shows a lot about human history in general and just what people thought back then, and it's very important. I mean, these major religions really, they structurized society.
Yeah, literally.
So, like, they did. And so, whether or not, you want to cherry pick what's true about the Bible and what's not, there is good things that religion has done, and then there's also a lot of terrible things that have come from religion. Wars, dude, are kind of the biggest thing.
The wavelength you are on right now is amazing, seriously.
The wavelength? I'm a little tired.
No,
but I had a crazy Christmas.
I'm sure, dude.
It was fun,
he's got to go do a freaking 4-hour drive after this too. So.
Yeah.
But but seriously, the wave you're thinking, I definitely extremely appreciate it.
Oh, and thank you, man.
Like it's so brilliant because like the fact that whatever you believe, it's awesome that I'm hearing from you that aside of what my beliefs may be, the things that it witnesses. And I even said to Landon, he's gonna be my best man at my wedding. The second episode, the one that we talked about anxiety. Yeah,
sexy dog.
He is a sexy dog. But
Shout out Landon.
Shout out Landon. But when I sat down and I talked to him, I was like, I think if anybody's on a good level of just like positive thinking or something like that, I was like, even I that am not LDS, I appreciate you for going out for 2 years of your own life, because that is more than I think even I or a lot of my family or friends could even say of sacrificing. You're leaving your entire friends and family for 2 years to go influence others about this thing, because like you said, regardless of what you think about it, they're good people. They share good things. They share good totally. Messages. And so it's like to sacrifice your own 2 years of your own life on this earth to go and what you believe is helping other people. Right. That is fucking amazing.
Yeah, I think it is admirable. Especially like going back, it's on a personal level. That's an admirable thing to do. To sacrifice 2 years of your life to go and make the world a better place. Yeah. Whether or not that, and my opinion on this matter, because I think that's admirable. But whether or not whether or not that is going to make a better world, everyone joining the LDS Church or not, that's debatable. But yes, on a personal level, and I'm sure because I've had cousins that have gone on missions. Some best friends that have gone on missions just like you, and they're some of the greatest people I've ever known. And it's just like this: if somebody goes to war, that's an admirable thing to do, fighting for something that they truly believe in, whether or not you agree with the war or not.
Exactly, because the politics are like we shouldn't already be fighting that
keep
war,
the politics
but it's like
out of it.
Yeah, because it's like we shouldn't already be fighting that war, but it's like, but dude, that freaking 18-year-old kid is fucking literally putting his whole life on fucking hold, or even worse,
right?
Fathers with wives of 3 kids are like, I'm going to fucking fight this war,
right?
Like that is fucking amazing, and you. At the end of the day, like that is the point, bro. It's like you are trying to better the fucking world.
And if you disagree with the war or something, then vote for someone who's not gonna take us to war. Yeah. They probably will anyway. Probably will anyway.
Big
but
facts.
So like I said, I have a lot of admiration for spiritual people. I mean, and then I have family members that are really good Christians, and they do great things. They're great people, and their religion helps them to be better people. And I think that that's the most important thing. Yeah. We could sit here and go around all day whether or not like what they believe in is true or not, and like I'm not going to try to shove what I believe is to be true down somebody's throat who might not. I used to kind of be like that, and I'm glad that was something that I recognized and stopped doing that, because all too often even religious people do that. Yeah, not all of them. Not all of them.
Yeah, but you're right.
But like whether you're a religious person who's like trying to change somebody's mind just to make yourself feel better, or an atheist who's trying to do that because they have some stick up their ass about religion in some way, shape, or form, it's just like at the end of the day, just agree to disagree.
Disagree.
Lay out a list or like debate about it.
Yeah,
I think a good one, and if you've never watched it, you would probably find interested in it, is the Ken Ham Bill Nye debate. I know it's a little bit older, and both of those guys aren't my favorite people in the world, but it is a great debate. And they debate the historical accuracies and discrepancies depending on which side you are on in the Bible.
Hell yeah!
So it's a good one to watch.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, it's a little bit older. I think it's like 2011 or 12, but I'm sure it's still on YouTube.
Okay, gotcha. So, yeah, no, that's hella dope. And I think the biggest thing of something that needs to be appreciated more is what you just said right there, is like whatever my beliefs are. And I used to be this very thick person, and then I got into the world where I was the same way. I mean, right. I can say my mother or my very best friend. I mean, the two most people that I care about, that I know love me and want me to be the best human being, and vice versa, but they have completely different views, but they both tell me that this is the correct thing. And so you're left as the middle guy of like, but like, I love my mom, I love my best friend, but they think completely fucking differently. They think the Bible like differently. They think what the politics, like everything is so different that I kind of have to be as grounded as I can and say, I'm open for interpretation. I'm open to like, let's hear your side. Let's hear your side. What are the facts? What are people online, or the smart scientists down to the really authentic Buddhists, honest, like in themselves, spiritual people think about these things, so I can build my own opinion, because it is very, very difficult when you just have two people that you care so much about, but they try to tell you two completely different beliefs of why we're here.
Yeah, that's something I battled for a long time. And I think that the reason why I was a little, really stern in my beliefs for a long time was because of that.
Yeah.
It was like, maybe it was just a defense mechanism for some insecurity about them being wrong and me being right. And I felt like I had to prove my point by quoting all these. I mean, and at the end of the day, I still feel like this. Like, if there is a scientist and this science has been studied for years and years and years, those are experts in that field. I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to listen to the scientists when it comes to biology.
Yeah.
And when it comes to spirituality, I'll listen to, the pastors or the elders or the Pope or whoever the fuck. I don't know.
Literally.
I mean, I think there's something there's something positive to be learned from anyone.
Exactly.
You know, maybe not.
So very true.
Yeah.
Because we are humans.
Even if somebody that is just a terrible person or something, you still have something to learn from them. It's like, oh yeah, well, I'm not going to be a terrible person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I sat that with Whitney. I learned how, like, I had an abusive father, but how he abused me, it made me a better person in some fucked up way. But it did.
Yeah.
You know, so
totally.
it's weird. It is weird. You can learn from good and bad people. But at the end of the day, we're all humans. We're all imperfect. We're all imperfect. I mean, we're all fucking imperfect.
This setup is pretty perfect.
No, but for us, I had to plug because it's true. Like, we're all imperfect. We're all trying to just understand our own beings, our lives, what we're supposed to do, what we're meant to here to do. The ultimate life question is, why are we here?
Yeah, and like, we live in an age where we question that more. I mean, think about living in an age where we were like, because you and I were
no tech,
we were born into the age of information.
Yeah.
So like, if somebody tells you something, you can quickly refute that, refute what they say by just doing a Google search.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But then that's good in one way because it allows you to think for yourself, but it's also bad in another way because the information gets so convoluted.
So bad.
You know what I mean? It's like how are you supposed to decipher the truth?
Dude, literally, if we have a fight about anti-vax or something, I'm like, well, like, oh, do you believe in anti-vax? Or like, oh, facts. And I'm like, oh, you don't believe in it? Facts. Like, I could look up both sides with,
Yeah, and unless you're like doing the research and seeing the tangible evidence yourself, it's like, how are you going to have an opinion that's actually worth anything? You know what I mean?
And that's where the politics and the ideas and the beliefs get so, like you said, convoluted.
And the landscape is just so dirty nowadays.
It's hard. You know? It's so hard.
At least political anyway.
Yeah.
So, and I don't really get into politics much anymore.
Right.
I mean,
well, I know, because we got our thoughts out. I got one politic for you.
Sure, yeah. I'm happy to answer questions. No doubt.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I just got one for you.
Totally.
This is a conversation we had a lot at work too.
Yeah, for sure. We had a lot of these.
We had a lot of. And I'm bringing back all these old conversations for y'all.
But we did work, people. We
Ish.
we were sitting in the back sipping dews. You were sipping dew. I was probably drinking water.
Yeah, you were drinking. You always drink water, bro.
Mountain Dew.
Yeah, God. Yeah. But marijuana, bro.
Oh yeah.
Mary Jane Juanas.
Ooh, the devil's lettuce.
The devil's lettuce.
The good shit.
So we talked about this a lot because we are now getting to a spot where it is fucking almost legal. I mean, it's getting
pretty much, yeah. All the bordering states, everywhere except Idaho, right?
Yeah, literally.
All of our neighbors.
It's getting legal. The states, like, what are your opinions on all that?
I mean, I think the debate's kind of over. Because I think that just society, even like the baby boomers. I mean, I don't know. It's so weird because I grew up with like this stigma on marijuana that it was like a gateway drug, that it's this terrible drug that's going to rot your brain and all this stuff. Now, what I will say about it is it's just like anything. It's like McDonald's. Too much of anything is a bad thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like marijuana, I think it helps people. I think that it can also do bad things for people. It just depends on how you use it. Now, I think that I think the war on drugs, and we won't go too deep into this, but the war on drugs was just a big nonsensical thing, in my opinion. I think that, especially with marijuana, I wouldn't even classify it as a drug. I mean, there are drugs out there that are dangerous, that we should keep off the streets at all means possible, especially like away from children. I mean, like, drugs that are literally killing thousands of people a day. It's very, very tragic. We should be spending more time and resources combating addiction and things like that than we should be worried about marijuana anymore. I think the debate's kind of over. Most states have legalized. If you want to do it, then do it. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. I mean, I think it can help people in a lot of ways. It can also, like I said, I don't think you have to have marijuana to achieve anything. I think that you can do it on your own. I don't condone the use of it for anyone. But yeah, I think that it should be legal. It's just a plant that grows.
Yeah, it's super simple. Yeah, the reason I asked is because we talked, and at the time, I smoked weed like 3 or 4 times in high school.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And so
maybe like 300, 400 for me in high school. In high school.
Yeah. No, I did it just literally a couple of times, and my last time, I ended up getting caught. In trouble. And
so it put a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah, so literally I remember, because we talked about it, I was like, because like literally I was senior in high school before I even touched. I still, drinking whatever, but smoking, like I just always avoided it for some reason. But finally, like for the very first time I bought weed, like, because every other time I was like, dude, here you go, like, whatever. And I was like, I'm going to buy it for the first time, buy it, whatever. And went to a very terrible spot to smoke it, and the cop pulls up and writes me up or whatever. Yeah. But I had to do 6 months of probation where you had to call every fucking morning, weekends and holidays, and do your drug color. And if like mine was green, so you have to call every morning right at 6 a.m. sharp and be like, the color today is red and blue. And I'm like, oh, good, I don't have to go in. Oh, the color today is green. And you're like, fuck. So you have to roll in there and be there by 7 to piss test, which costs $10 a piece.
Which is a ridiculous system.
Yeah, system should be done away that whole thing. So yes,
especially for low-time pot smokers.
Yes, and I was high school, so that like put a bad taste in my mouth, and I was the same way. Like I just always avoided it, never really stepped into it for XYZ reason. But then I did it, and then I got in trouble. I was like, fuck this is stupid. Like and it wasn't even that I really neglected weed. It was like it was illegal. I just can't touch it.
Right.
Like I'm not going to be a part of it, whatever. And then that did that forever. And then me and you were having these conversations. And you kind of, like was like, dude, like it's like, yeah, that's like the system is kind of fucked rather than weed itself.
Yeah, it's the system that's fucked. For sure.
Yeah, literally, fuck the system.
Yeah.
But like all that happened, I'm like, you know what, you're right. And then of course around those times, weed was getting legalized, and it was becoming more and more common. And you read more and more online, and then you go to a state like the very first time was like going to Las Vegas, and you're walking down and like you see people smoking weed, and you're like,
yeah, Seattle, it smells like fish and weed everywhere you go.
Dude, it's weird. It's like here because like it's fucking you'll get taken down quick. Like I said, like it was hella quick. Like it was just like I just remember like, oh my god, I got caught, and then the next day I woke up to papers, and then I go to court, and then I was already in probation for 6 months. That it fucking cost X amount of money. Right. It's a terrible experience.
Yeah.
But that's why I bring it up now, because it's like, don't you think that it should just be fucking legal?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it should have been legal. It should have been illegal a long time ago. In fact, I think there's a few factors into why it was illegal in the first place. And one of the main factors was because the paper industry was like lobbied to make it illegal because of the hemp industry. Because hemp, put pot aside, hemp is a very versatile resource. Yeah. It can be used for a lot of things. Yeah. And it's really unfortunate that we're cutting down trees when we could be growing mass amounts of hemp. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that would save us a lot. I mean, that would help out our planet environmentally so much better. Yeah,
because there's like hemp oils and all those things that are like...
It's like all this was just somebody's decision, probably out of greed or power or whatever, to make these things illegal or whatever. And ultimately, I think that it was really bad for society to do that. Yeah. And then just to touch on criminal justice, the criminal justice system, I mean, people like... you got in trouble for weed. Yeah. You were in high school, and I feel like they kind of go hard on high school kids when they catch them with drugs, which is kind of fair, I guess. Like even if it were legal, you still would have been in trouble because you were underage at the time. Exactly. You probably shouldn't have been smoking weed at that age. Yeah. I don't think that you should smoke weed when you're a teenager.
Really?
I think that there's a reason why there's an age limit on these things, because when you get older, you gain a better understanding of who you are. Yeah. I think drugs can kind of convolute that. Drugs aren't the only thing. I mean, there's a lot of exterior
things that can convolute you.
Yeah, totally. That can fuck your psychology up. And I think marijuana is probably really low on the list of things that could actually do damage to your life, But at the same time, I think that if you're young, you probably shouldn't do it. Understand yourself better, understand it better, and then decide when you're an adult. Same with drinking. Drinking is actually really terrible for you. Yeah. Before you reach a certain age. I mean, it's terrible for your body anyway. But before you reach a certain age, it can really have damaging effects on your brain. Yeah. And I don't know the science behind. I'm sure it probably has a lot to do with how much you use or how much you drink. You know what I mean? But
exactly.
I just think that I think that the age limit is a good thing. Now, granted, kids are going to get a hold of it anyway.
Yeah, facts.
It's actually easier for kids to get pot in states where it's illegal than it is where it's legal.
Really? Yeah, because everyone just goes to the store or the market rather than here. It's like you don't need to get ID from the drug dealer down the street.
It's a lot easier to get weed for kids in Pocatello than it is for them to get alcohol. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because alcohol is a controlled substance. You have to be 21 to buy it. I think most adults, other than maybe like people in their early 20s, I wouldn't buy kids alcohol. I'd be like, hell no. I'm going to call your mom.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So
big facts. And like to even pull back the story, it's like, so that was our conversation at the time, like, what are your thoughts on it? Should it be legal? And it, it's leading that way. And I'm happy you say yes, it should, but we should, have age limits, things like that.
Yeah, it should be controlled. But then again, the only drawback of making it legal is then you're just putting all that tax into the government's hands. Yeah, big. And they're probably not doing very much. Yeah. With that money. Yeah. And you wouldn't want it to get taken over by some big, tobacco industry or something that are going to put chemicals in it to make it addicting or whatever it is.
Yeah, I want to get there. But the other thing, I just want to go back real quick on this marijuana thing. And when we talked and discussed, I did have that like thought, and then you were really the first one to kind of like, you know, whatever. And then like the more like it wasn't just you, but like around that time, like I started hearing friends more do it and family, and like yes, family really woke me up. Like it's weird when you get older and like the little small things start making sense. Like when your parents go out the door and they're like, hey, you can't come out here, son, and they lock, and you're like, oh, whatever. And you go play your video game. Then you get older and they shut the door like, Gage, come out here. You're like, oh my God, y'all smoking? You're like,
Papa needs his puff.
It starts making sense and shit, but you're like, oh my God. But it's like, it kind of blew my mind how much family, holy fucking shit, is some of my family like smoke
Oh yeah, me
weed.
too. Yeah, totally.
You know, and I was like, well, I never saw it, but like, I was like, I want to like, this is what I'm like, okay, I just want to like have a very... I was at this point where I'm like, I want to smoke weed just one more time, just to like see, like just to kind of cut out, like, because there's like a little bit of demons in your head, like it's still bad, it's still illegal. And I was like, so me and my fiance were going to California.
Okay.
And you know, and I was like, okay, I want to make it like 100% legal because I have bad anxiety as it is. You know, as I talked a couple episodes, I just want to make it like fully like nice and calm as I can. So we went to California. And we got an Airbnb and talked with the hostess, like, is it cool if we do this? First guy said no. Second person we found, they're like, hell yeah, like, that's totally cool. Like, I do it. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. So, because you have to be inside or whatever.
Right.
And so we went down there, we smoked weed, and we literally just got a couple blunts and went home, or went to our Airbnb, smoked weed, had a great time. We were playing games on our phone, fucking around, saying, it's like, just like one of those, like, little classic. It was really, like, fun moment because both of us, like, kind of experimented in high school, but then we got to this point where, like, let's just, like, try it as, you know, adults, just for like that one memory where it's legal, fully 100% legal,
might as well,
you know, and the only negative is like family, friends, and people that will give back, you know, cut back on you because like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, whatever. But we did it, had a great fucking night, haven't touched it since. Yeah. So like that calmed all my things in my head. Like, dude, I this was over a year ago. I haven't fucking touched it. I don't feel like, oh my God, you know, and I
think, and that goes back to a point of like, you probably shouldn't do it when you were a kid. Because I mean, say you never got in trouble and then you overindulged in it and then you're doing it.
Very true.
And I'm sure it's an expensive habit for people, you know.
Very much.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, kind of like.
I don't really do it. I mean, I'll do it at night sometimes to help me fall asleep. But I don't know. It actually can trigger my anxiety a little bit.
You know, we have an equal friend that said the same thing. That's why he stopped doing it.
Yeah.
But it was just like kind of a wake up moment of it. It's not the devil, and that
it's the devil's lettuce.
It's the devil's lettuce. But at the same time, you're right with addiction. Like this is the thing. Honest, and people are gonna sound like out of your brain, but really like the habits are very similar. Like. If I take a person that drinking gives its own problems, but if someone's drinking every night compared to how like when I'm home and I have homework and I have bills and I have all these things and I'm playing video games daily, which I was like my first year of college, like I was just like literally paying $4,000 for a semester, then going home and just fucking wasting all my time on fucking video games.
Yeah, easy to do.
It's very easy. It was an addiction. Like I fucking just love. Yeah. Until this day, I love video gaming. But at that time, it was very, very bad. I'd skip class. I would skip family events. I just fucking be like, oh, like it's all anxiety here. I can just fucking be me, you know, do my thing, you know.
Totally.
And it's bad. And so it's like that's like there's nothing worse because they both have side effects, and addiction hits anything. Yeah. Weed, video games, McDonald's, like you said, addiction is the bad part.
Right. Everything in moderation.
Exactly.
Everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation, because too much of it can affect you. So I just wanted to bring that up just to kind of tell you now, live on the podcast, that like, I finally had that awakening a moment. I kind of wanted to circle it back to you where it was like, I would never had anything to do with it, kind of played with it, got in trouble with it, hated it. Kind of like heard family and friends are all about it and being more open with me. I'm like, I'm going to fuck with it. Just once, went down there, had a great fucking night. Literally, it was a fun fucking night. And my fiance was just like, I just felt like I kept sinking into the bed for like, you know, like we were talking. It's just like so many fun memories and good times in that one night down in California. And then we moved on.
Honestly, there's potheads. I mean, I know everyone that I know smokes pot. I mean, who am I kidding? And they function in society just fine. I mean, they can smoke weed and do anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's like, it's definitely not the most mind-altering substance out there.
Yeah.
And you know, and so and this could be said, I mean, now the big thing is like psilocybin, you know? They've found a lot of positive psychological effects to psilocybin mushrooms, and so that's kind of like the next thing. And it's kind of interesting because a lot of people that are on the other side of the fence when it comes to the marijuana debate, they always fall back on the gateway thing. Right. And then their next step is like, well, if we legalize marijuana, what's next? Are we going to legalize cocaine? Are we going to legalize meth? And it's like, you know, we know enough about drugs and the human body and drugs in society to be able to understand what should be, allowed on the streets and what we should prevent from happening. And I just think that with so much going on in the world today, I mean, we have a lot bigger problems. Like our government shouldn't be involved in people's lives to the point where we're dictating what they can and can't fucking smoke.
That's leading. Yeah, I'm gonna take that sentence and segue into this just other quick conversation that I want to get your opinion on. I'm sure you've seen, but have you seen about how they want 18-year-old tobacco products to be sold only at 21?
Yeah, I mean tobacco's terrible. It doesn't.
It is
there's really
terrible.
no. I mean, I smoked. You knew that. I quit smoking. I don't smoke anymore.
Oh, cool. Good.
Well, I quit. Yeah. So I don't think. Yeah. I quit for when I was still in Pocatello.
Oh, good.
I quit for about a year and a half. I had a girlfriend who it wouldn't have worked if I didn't quit. So I quit then. And then when I moved to Boise, I started up again in moderation, kind of. Technically wasn't allowed to smoke at the job I was working, but I would smoke like on the weekends and stuff, sometimes at night. But it was like really cut back. And then last January, so almost a year, I
stopped again.
I stopped again.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's good to hear.
And that is one thing that I will preach to the kids. Don't fucking smoke cigarettes. It's not cool. They suck. Bad, they don't do anything good for you. You know what I mean? So just don't do it. And if you like to do it, then I think you should be allowed to do it.
That's what I was going to say. Is like, because I know you're very.
I would not condone it.
Exactly, because I know you're very woke to government politics, really, like all those things. I know you're very well rounded in a lot of these things. So I was, reading. I was like, okay, they want to make it to you're 21 to buy tobacco products. But one of the biggest things that kind of catches me is you can be 18 years old and enlist in the military, which is crazy as fuck.
Right.
So
that's been a big argument for a while.
So it's like how can an 18-year-old like give away their life to a not give away, but work for the military or choose to do so, but they can't make
potentially risk their life.
Yeah, risk their life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, literally, they could decide to fucking literally give when I say give away their life, have the chance to lose their life.
Right.
But they can't make the decision to smoke. Yeah,
that's silly. I mean, that's isn't that kind of oxymoronical for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that 18 should be the. I mean, here's the thing: is like Germany, you can drink at the age of 13, and it's not as stigmatized as it is in the United States, and so you don't have as much alcohol. You don't have as many alcohol-related deaths. You don't have as many cases of alcoholism and stuff in Germany because it's not it's a part of their culture. It's not as stigmatized.
Right.
I can't speak for like how they educate people on those things, but I just feel like when you're a kid, especially coming like out of your early teens, in your high school years, especially when you have like a group of friends together, you look to feel like an adrenaline rush, or you want to, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm drawing a blank here, Gage.
You're good, tired.
Anyway, it's more of like the excitement of doing something illegal or doing something wrong.
Facts.
Or doing something, and I think that is like a big factor in why people start doing these things at such a young age.
Right. Exactly.
But in societies where they're taught about these things and what it actually can do. Because they teach that in the United States, but at the same time, like everyone's still getting fucking wasted by the time they're 14. You know what I mean? And that could be part of it. That stigmatization of drugs and alcohol in our society and the way we teach about it at a young age, I think it's kind of ass backwards, to be honest with you. In fact, as far as like drug use goes, I think that drug use should not necessarily be criminalized. I'm not saying it should be legal. It shouldn't be promoted or condoned in any way. But criminalizing drug use, I think, is just a way for the private prison systems to fucking gain a ton of capitalism, you know what I mean? Shouldn't be locking up addicts. We should be rehabilitating addicts.
Right.
That's something that I think we're working towards. But yeah, it kind of falls back to that stigmatization of things.
That's literally when I got caught with weed. It was just. There was absolutely no like.
Yeah, they beat you up.
There was no talk of like you shouldn't do this anymore and nothing. It was just slap your hand, 6 months probation.
Yeah,
and then you're going around real fucking crazy motherfuckers that are like, you're going in there and there's like people getting tackled out of the bathroom because they smoked weed or some shit, and you're like, Jesus Christ, and you're like, you get so scared, like you didn't smoke, but you're like, did I smoke? Did I get any around? Did he like fuck like?
Right.
And they're like over there looking at your dick, and you're just like.
Is this what I'm going to become? Yeah. No, I know that. I was on colors for an underage consumption when I was.
Really?
Yeah.
So you fucking know.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
Holy shit.
I know the drill.
That shit sucked.
It was dumb.
It was dumb.
Fucking waste of money. Although I will say that I probably deserved it because I shouldn't have been drinking, and I'm sure I was like really.
Did it help? Did you stop drinking?
No, it didn't help. Yeah, so you're right. Yeah, good question. No, I didn't. I remember like one night I got super drunk and I was on probation for it. Right. And I had to go in and test.
Oh, God, no.
And I came out clean. I don't know what happened.
What?
Yeah, it was a miracle.
You're just like, fuck.
Yeah, I think I might have been praying at that time. Maybe I should start going to church. Yeah, so no, but it didn't help at all. In fact, I think I hit I think I went down into like a deeper darkness depression shortly after that. It kind of just fucked me up for a little bit. Yeah. This is when I was like right out of high school, 18.
Right,
and those 2 years were like some of the worst 2 years of my life. I learned a lot of valuable lessons in those 2 years, but yeah, I don't know. I wasn't doing what I went to college right out of high school. For me, that was a mistake. I should have taken some time off and evaluated what I wanted to do. Yeah, because then I ended up in debt for a few years from it, but now I got a clean slate. So there you go. Never too late.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, we could talk forever about drugs, man.
Yeah. Well, I just want to get your thoughts on it, and just again circle back to it.
Yeah, totally. No, that was a good topic for sure.
Hell yeah, but you only got a couple more, but I'll let you go back.
Damn, I feel like it's only been 10 minutes.
I know. Fuck, it's been a minute.
I know.
But we're talking. But another thing is like we were talking about chasing your dream and from the beginning, and I just kind of want to circle back real quick because you're talking about chasing your dream and giving your time to focus on what you're doing and stuff like that. Right. And so like I think we covered so much of it, the balance and the things like that. But like if someone were to like want to do something, like how would you like what would you tell that person? It's like I want to do this, but I have to work or something like that. Like how would you inspire them to be like get going?
Yeah, so I wouldn't encourage everyone to just quit whatever it is they're doing if they don't want to do it and then pursue something else.
Right.
I think that you need to take, like we talked about earlier, take baby steps to get there. Like, say you want to design video games for a living. Take the baby steps to get there. Right. Start with like reading books about it. Like developing or like mini games for apps or starting with something simple. And then like work at it every day. And then over a period of months, you'll know if that's what you want to do or not. Perfect. With animation, I've taken those baby steps over and over again, and I do think it's something that I don't know if I want to, like, if I could do it professionally or not, but it's just something that I want to pursue anyway. I want, like I said, I want to tell stories, so it was just those baby steps of getting there to like, how do I like put my ideas into fruition? Right. Like I get inspired through just like thoughts or ideas or anything that can provoke an emotion, So I think film. That's why I love film so much. Is film really, or even like painting, but film for me really can like bring out a lot of emotions, whether it's like a really good movie or just like an art house film that doesn't necessarily have like a structured story plot that's more of like a poem or something that will strike an emotion with you. I'm really inspired by things like that. And so that's kind of what I want to
chase the dream.
Yeah.
Jill, I just want to get a good clip out of you. So that's a good one.
All right.
That was good. Last but not least, and I'm going to let you bounce. Listen, I've been wanting to talk about this for a fucking minute.
Oh, yeah. I think I know it's coming.
I know you know it's coming.
I know you love to talk to me about this.
Yes, I do. And this is, I know we talk a little bit heavy, but to bring this all back, talk about something a little bit positive, maybe a little heavy, still pisses me off when I think about it. But
yeah, me too.
Game of fucking Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Me and you are such
biggest
big.
letdown.
I think, dude. Me and you are such big artists. Like we do a lot of artistic things. We do a lot of film and all those kinds of things. And so we really have an eye for these things. And now definitely what you're talking about, which we can talk about, is your story writing in these things. So now you can actually, thinking about storytelling and story writing and characters and things like that. And now comparing it to like Game of Thrones, it's like holy fucking shit. What did they do with all this?
Yeah. So I'm not like a big blockbuster guy. I think you know that. Like,
right. Yeah.
If I choose to watch something, I'm not gonna like jump to like Star Wars. It's not gonna be like my go-to. I appreciate it for what it is, but it's not really my go-to. But there are TV shows that I find extremely compelling because the storytelling is so good.
Right, exactly.
Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 5 being one of those, and then like Breaking Bad or True Detective.
Breaking Bad was really
The
good.
Sopranos, things like that. Those I almost appreciate TV shows like that more than I do depending on the film. I mean, apples and oranges here, but. Yeah, Game of Thrones. All right, we won't drift too far off subject. So, what's up with it?
So
I haven't watched it for like over a year.
I know it's been a minute. It's been a minute, but like especially thinking artistically and thinking about, why. This is one of my questions. Because when we are talking about movies, there's a director. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's a person that directs an entire film, and they produce this beautiful piece beginning to end,
right?
And they give it on. But then it gets a little bit more complicated, especially in movies when you have Star Wars, but each episode is directed by a different person, which means that, a director's job is to basically overlook everything, from the sound effects, music, down to what's shot, composition, everything.
Yeah.
And so when you take...
That'd be hard to do.
Yeah, and when you take two different directors, though, that's two different visions. Mm-hmm. And so it gets a little bit weird. So I think the weirdest part when we're talking about Game of Thrones, and isn't it just really weird when they have so many different directors with all these same characters, because they have different visions, and so they do it different. Because I think what everyone can really go all the way all the way down to, sizzle all the way down to, is you have those two directors. I forgot their names.
David Wise and Dan Benioff.
Yes,
I might have mixed that up. Is it Dan Wise and David Benioff? I think it's Dan Wise and David.
Yeah,
Benioff.
I'm pretty sure it is. And those two directors are the ones that handled the last season. And so
so just those two directed the entire last season. Because I know they've had a lot of different directors.
They've had a lot. Series. So that's regardless of that or not. Don't you think you should have the same director throughout an entire series or movie?
I don't necessarily agree with that. Because Breaking Bad had a list of A-list directors that worked on that, and that's one that I would. I have a hard time pointing out a lot of flaws in and where my big thing is the writing, the storytelling. How compelling is the storytelling? How much emotion can it bring out of a person? And I think that's what is important about storytelling. There's a lot of stuff that we watch that's just kind of that's why I'm not a big fan of sitcoms and things like that, and I don't really choose to watch stuff like that because it's just kind of mindless watching.
Right.
And I mean, depending on the situation or whatever, but. Yeah, with things like Game of Thrones, as far as the directing goes. So I'll say this: the last season, I didn't like it.
Exactly.
There were a few parts and everything. The writing is what I didn't like.
Okay.
I think they just, in my opinion, they botched a lot of storylines. They ended characters on a note that wasn't satisfying. Yeah, so it felt very rushed.
Yeah. So let me ask you, because my point with the directors is just saying it's hard when it's hard when you have a vision, mm-hmm. and you just give the vision to so many people. And I think that I could be totally wrong, because what if they gave it to a different group of directors that outdid every other director and ended the season strong? Then I'm oh fuck yeah. But what do you think went wrong with the last season?
So I wouldn't I'm not the type of person that's going to put the blame on everyone or do this stupid shit where they try to get a petition to rewrite the season or anything, or anything like that. I'm not that bummed about it. It's what do you actually think is going to happen? You're not having a satisfying ending to one of your favorite TV shows is really going to bum you out that much. You have nothing better to do,
Yeah,
so
facts,
I was bummed because I did like that story, and I felt like it was just, I think that the biggest problem is it was just rushed. I feel with that, a story that vast with so many moving parts has to end at some point. And I think that as a whole, everyone who worked on that did a great job.
Phenomenal.
I couldn't do a better job. The last season, and I always say this, the acting in the last season was awesome.
Fucking amazing.
It was great.
Top
acting.
level.
Yeah, great acting. I had nothing bad to say about that. And I used to be more critical about this kind of shit. But I think I just didn't understand how much time and effort and money is put into these projects.
So you'd say probably the storytelling, which would make sense.
Yeah, it was the writing. It was just the writing. And it's been a while since I've seen it, so I don't know how specific I can get, but I just name a few examples. I felt like the Danny and John relationship was rushed. And a good example of how to build two characters into a relationship, I think, is Ygritte and John. Remember when he was captured by the wildlings, when he went beyond the wall
phenomenal.
For the first time?
And she didn't like him.
You had a whole season where these two are building a relationship together, and you see a lot of their dynamics back and forth. You didn't see that with Jon and Dany. It was just kind of like, oh, they meet for the first time, have a few episodes, debate on how they want to defeat Cersei and the White Walkers, and then all of a sudden it's like, you're my aunt.
Yeah,
my auntie.
Literally, dude.
Give me a kiss, auntie.
God.
Let me ride your dragon, auntie.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so I felt like that was a little rushed. And so that last scene, like I don't think it was last scene, but when he ultimately killed her, it wasn't as emotionally as impactful because I just didn't feel like that relationship was,
right. Because we're talking about the same thing when
Ygritte died, I think I cried.
I cried too because when Ygritte did it, there's, like you said, there's so many of those dynamics with like the little boy, and that little boy's, they're kind of training him, and then he finally does this ultimate bad thing to kind of follow the wrong side.
Exactly.
And so when he shoots that arrow and kills her, like Jon's like looking at him and like, how could you fucking do this? And then he like wakes up like we were literally going down the fucking wrong path, whatever. But that dynamic, you're right, because the storytelling when it was him, and it's like, oh, like that sucks because like we really care for Daenerys, but you can't really feel for Jon because like their relationship between the two had nothing. But when you see Jon's face with Ygritte, it was like, holy shit, this fucking hurts.
You had grown to love those characters together. You know, like you as a viewer, you had grown to love those two characters for who they were. And knowing that they kind of ended on a bad note and then ultimately one of them died was like gripping, Where with Jon and Dany, I feel like you loved those two characters, but there wasn't enough build-up in that relationship to love those two characters together. Yeah. In fact, especially when Dany turned heel. When Dany turned heel, then you were just annoyed with her anyway. And then they didn't build on the relationship after she turned heel. Yeah. So, and she didn't necessarily turn heel on Jon immediately, but you could start to see her kind of going crazy. They didn't spend enough time doing that. In fact, actually, they kind of did. They did a lot of foreshadowing to like kind of foreshadow that she was going to turn to be a bad guy.
I think that was just edited wrong. Like I saw this clip on Facebook where it showed Dany like when she was like crying, about to make the decision to burn all of King's Landing, and she was just standing there.
That was great. Well, that was a great scene.
That was a great scene. But like when she was like making that decision, I saw this thing where it was like when it showed her face and the camera was like zooming on her face and she was like crying, that this someone that re-edited it kind of showed like old scenes of like everything she was thinking about.
Yeah, totally.
Because we didn't see what she was thinking about. Right. So when you just saw like, holy fuck, but then the scene showed her like when she was getting beat by her brother and getting raped by Khal Drogo and like all these things that were just going on and on and on. And you're just like, and it shows you all those scenes and then she like snaps. And then she goes off and does it.
And that's why that was a good scene.
Would make sense.
And they really emphasized her hunger for power throughout the entire series.
Yes, they did.
She was always very hungry for power.
There was hints.
Yeah, so like I had always kind of guessed that would happen. I knew that like one of the main characters was going to turn on the other one, and that would maybe be like the final villain. And I was always kind of on this. I mean, it's been almost like a year or 2 years since it ended, right?
I think about a year, over,
Yeah, it's been a while. And so, I had always kind of suspected that it would be Dany, because I knew it was going to come down with like Dany and Jon and Tyrion being like the last three characters.
Yeah, and I like you said, I love that. Like like I said, if they edited a little bit better and showed that like last little break and then why she did it, would have helped. But I think that whole like thing ended up. But like what about Arya though?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked because I wanted to get into that one next. There were two things that bugged me about Arya's storyline. The first one was the fact that she killed the Night King was a big disappointment for me, and I'll tell you why. Because her storyline didn't really align with the White Walkers. Now, granted, she's a Stark from Winterfell and all this stuff, but and that some of the battle sequences with her in that battle were really sick,
fucking
and
amazing,
I really liked. But the fact that she killed the Night King, I kind of felt was like a cheap way to just promote one of the story's favorite characters.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. In my opinion,
she didn't spend the last 3 seasons caring about the White Walkers, and
she was built up as to be this faceless assassin, which she did. I don't even think she did that once in the last season.
No, she didn't do that at all.
At all. And then it was like she kind of became like the heroine of the story after Dany turned heel. Like Arya was like the new heroine. It's like, oh, she killed the Night King. Now she gets to kill Cersei. And like it's just like why is Arya the one to kill everyone? I think they could have done more with that, and I'm eager to see what they'll do with her in the books.
That's what I'm excited about because I feel like we could. I think they'll take a lesson. It's just really weird that one of the biggest studios and most liked game shows in ever can end up like that. Like the last scene where nobody was like. And did you watch the documentary, by the way?
I think so. I think
the HBO documentary. But what I loved is when they did the table reading, it showed like some of the characters like reading, and they were like. because they didn't like the script off the reading, you know.
Right. Oh, I did see that.
Yeah.
Varys, I think Varys
did it. He like
really
threw
mad.
a script. And he's just like because he died in the most shitty fucking way.
He did, yeah. And that was another character that they didn't give enough backstory to in the end. You know, like he was such a great character.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he was a great character, and he got a cheap death. R.I.P. Varys.
Yeah. So that was just like one of the first, like, I don't even know why they showed that in their HBO documentary. I'm like, dude, this is kind of like shitting on you guys even more, but whatever. Yeah. But like, since they did release that footage and it shows them like upset about it, it's just like, man, like your actors are like not liking, you know what I'm saying? And I understand. Like I said, the Daenerys thing, of course, like us, we don't want that to happen. But as a good story, it needs to happen where she flips and does that stuff.
Right, totally.
But where you shit on where Arya spent so much time becoming that faceless assassin.
And then they just didn't do anything.
And they didn't do nothing.
And that's why it was kind of rushed. And there were a lot of characters, I feel like, that happened to. Bran was one of them.
Yeah, Bran.
Arya.
Yeah, Bran's king and didn't do nothing.
And you know there were storylines that were satisfying. I mean, Jon's story was satisfying.
It was.
You know. Man, I don't know. It's been a while.
And
I kind of forget what happens. I haven't watched like the entire series for a while. So.
Right. I know it's been a minute. I just kind of want to touch on it, kind of beat a dead horse.
We would nerd about it. Yeah, we would nerd out about it.
Yeah.
So, but it's a good one.
But like, you know, like Grey Worm, his sole purpose is to protect Dany.
Right.
Sole fucking purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been like, and like when Dany's like, kill everybody, he's like, kills everybody, right? Does anything Dany would do. Dany gets fucking killed. We have to send Jon to the north. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
Like, why would he not fucking literally kill him? Why would we not have that awesome battle sequence between Grey Worm and, oh my God, Jon Snow?
Yeah. Yeah, man, like you said, you know, I think it just goes back to it being rushed, and I think there were a lot of reasons why that happened, because I know that the, you know, D&D is what they're referred to.
D&D, yeah.
I think they got pulled on to do a lot of the Star Wars stuff.
They were pulling, but then they got cut off.
Disney was probably paying them a lot more money than HBO, you know? So, yeah, ultimately, I was really disappointed about the ending of that series, man. And then one of the characters that I thought that came full circle was Theon.
Theon was a fucking... Yeah. That's probably the best character that did have that full...
He had a full circle, came back and ultimately, like, sacrificed himself when he kind of, like, pulled kind of a Professor Snape.
He did, exactly.
Kind of a Professor Snape outcome there, so... but yeah, man, I want to go back through and rewatch that series at some point in time. I'm gonna give it a couple years so I forget what happened.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Yeah, I know we're being a dead horse. I just know it's like one of those things.
No, you're fine, man. It's fun to talk about. I love to nerd out about the shit, and I haven't for a while. So.
Yeah. Game of Thrones. It's, you know, it's just one of those things. It was one of the best TV. Like being a filmmaker, like the writing and the cinematography and all those things, like
it's
I fucking studied it, just watched over and over and over again because it's so fucking phenomenal. But being a filmmaker, seeing the story writing and the cinematography and the actors and the set design and all those fucking things really tied in together, and it's like one of those things that's like one of the best fucking series I've ever seen, and I just like to study it.
Yeah, the writing is
amazing, and so it's like I love it, and then it's like it's just one of those things that it's one of the greatest pieces ever. But when you think about that last season, it's like that moment when you're like, what's the best series I need to watch? You're like, I don't know. Like, should I recommend you to watch this amazing fucking series? But then they shit on it at the end, and it's like, is it worth watching?
Yeah, in fact, somebody asked me that the other day. I was hanging out with some friends, and somebody had mentioned Game of Thrones, and then mentioned that the ending sucked, and somebody else was like, I've never watched it. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. If you don't want to be disappointed, maybe don't watch it. But
if you want to see
the first 5 seasons, if you were to just watch the first 5 seasons and not watch the ending, it's really good, man.
It's fucking
amazing. That was
amazing.
Groundbreaking. I mean, regardless of how it ended, that series was groundbreaking. You're
going to
see a lot of cool storytelling. George R.R. Martin we have to credit him.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Totally. Did you ever watch the movie Joker?
I did watch Joker. It's fucking amazing. What's his name?
Todd Phillips.
Todd Phillips.
I think that as far as like the big blockbuster films that I've watched this year that actually came out this year, I think that movie and this film called Midsommar.
I saw,
yeah. You saw Midsommar?
That was a good...
It was a dark ride, huh?
It was, but it was good.
It was, I mean, it was kind of a play off the 70s release of The Wicker Man. It was kind of the same premise.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
But I don't know, what's that director's name? He did Hereditary, too.
That was fucked up.
That guy is pretty intriguing, man. He's got I really like that stylistic, like, kind of... art house horror film, like kind of fusion, you know, really interesting.
Right.
So that movie was pretty inspiring for me. But yeah, I need to get back into watching films, man, because like I said, films are definitely a huge inspiration in in a lot of creative ways, especially storytelling.
And I definitely see a lot of movies, but I feel like you're right. I want to get a little bit more knowledgeable of directors in general, and that way I can kind of see it, because like the guy that did
you got to do the Scorsese.
Scorsese, yeah. And like the guy that did A Quiet Place, John Krasinski.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched that yet.
I can't remember his name, but like it was really interesting because he's in the movie, and he's also a director, and that's very something I was kind of like watching over and over and kind of studying, like how do you, you know, and I've seen a couple behind the scenes, but of course, you know, they don't release like a fucking full on doc like Game of Thrones did, but it's really interesting to see how someone could be in a movie, direct it, you know, all those kinds of things. It's a lot of hats, but yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's another wormhole. We'll have to say that for another day.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
No, man.
But I just, dude, literally hit everything from fucking top to bottom, every topic. Listen, I just, anybody watch this, I just want to thank so much. Forrest has been a good friend of mine, and I know
likewise, yeah.
When I thought about you as a guest, I probably should have said this at the beginning, but when I thought about you as a guest, I wanted to bring you on, and I thought about all the conversations we had at Dick's Sporting Goods, you know, and because I came to, when I started this podcast, as I mentioned a couple of times on this podcast, I've always had these conversations that I've wanted to capture and share with others, but also like rewatch for my own sake and kind of relearn and re-educate myself as time goes on.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
When I thought of, I was writing down people, I was like, holy shit, Forrest. And I just thought about all the conversations we had years and years at Dick's Sporting Goods and talking. And I was like, I want to build some topics that we talked about and kind of just like re-talk about and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that was good. Yeah, it was going to come full circle, like you said. Yeah, so no, it's been fun, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, well, thank you so much for being on. Thank you all for watching. Peace out.
Bye.